Welcome back, guys. I trust you are doing well. Now, Africa as a continent is very blessed. Africa as a continent has several rich natural resources spanning across forests, wildlife, and various minerals in its earth, with even some of the African countries boasting of huge deposits of oil. So, one would actually expect that then the continent should be flourishing and developing in abundance, and that its people should actually be so much well off that they don't have to want for anything. But is that the case? The answer is a very big no. And this is because, some way, somehow, with all these rich minerals, rich blessings abundant in this continent, you still find that most of the countries are riddled with poverty, when finding that its people are actually struggling to even survive, thereby leading to huge urban and even rural migration from these countries into other countries through various means, sometimes at the peril of their own lives. This is very unfortunate, and some Africans in the past have blamed this situation on some of the other continents. Some blame the Europeans, some blame the Americans and whatnots. But as an African myself, one of the facts that I've actually seen as underlying whatever blame someone may want to put on another continent is the fact that even if a foreign country had a role to play in taking advantage of an African resource, you will still find that in most instances, if not all, their own African people would be the ones spearheading such a move. A recent case has been uncovered in Zimbabwe by investigative journalists from Aljazeera, and it is mind-blowing. It is the case of the gold mafia, and this case is going to blow your mind. It involves countrymen, legislative men, it involves politicians, it involves men of God, and it involves even criminals, with some of them having been actually arrested by their own state officials that are now working with them to loot several ounces of gold to foreign countries and launder money. This is the case of the gold mafia, as has been covered by Aljazeera. And I would want to inform you that this case is going to blow your mind, especially if you are an African, and even if you are an European or watching from a different continent altogether. Just sit back and enjoy this. This is a special edition from True Crimes Cafe, covering the excerpts and information that has come out of the gold mafia broadcast investigation that Al Jazeera undertook. If you are ready for this true crime story, just buckle up and let's go. So before we get into the story, the caveat we are issuing on True Crimes Cafe channel is that whatever we are saying is what has been reported from Al Jazeera. Now, hearing the name the Gold Mafia, I'm sure it begs a question that what are they about, who they are, and what do they do? We'll get into it right away. The story starts from Zimbabwe, a country on the African continent, which is currently facing a lot of poverty as far as its economic crisis and development is concerned. Now, the gold mafia are rival gangs which have many different characters. And these characters range from new age pastors through to old school smugglers, and also extend to diplomats in the Zimbabwean government, in the person of the niece to the president of Zimbabwe, and other band of criminals who are actually very versatile and experienced in the smuggling of gold and the laundering of money worth billions of dollars from Southern Africa and other parts of the African continent through to other countries on other continents, with Dubai being one of their key destinations. Now, I'm going to take the implicated people one by one so that we know who make up this gold mafia as reported by Aljazeera. The first person is a man called Kamlesh Patni, also known as Brother Paul. Now, Kamlesh Patni is a Kenyan-born who actually specializes in the smuggling of gold. He is known better than anyone with regards to how to smuggle gold worth millions of dollars, and he actually always gets away with it. The closest he came to being convicted was in the 1990s when his company at the time, called Goldenberg International, was at the center of a giant scandal that robbed Kenya of about $600 million, which at the time was estimated to be about 10% of their GDP. Now, the president of Kenya at the time, who was Daniel Arap Moi, allowed Patni to export Kenyan gold when the country was at the time facing a Western aid embargo. But instead of Patni actually just going ahead with what had been arranged with the Kenyan government, he allegedly used his license to smuggle Congolese gold through Kenya. And at the end of the day, he was arrested and charged, but guess what? He was never convicted to date. So he got away with that. Now, according to the reports, they discovered that Patni had now moved his operations to Dubai and was smuggling gold from all over Africa, with mostly Zimbabwe being his central hub. Now, when they met Patni during the investigation, he was quick to boast of his influence, showing to them that he had even pictures with the former Libyan president Muammar Gaddafi and ex-Zimbabwe president Mugabe. Now, mostly criminals who have had the chance to rub shoulders with the political elite show off these things to sort of affirm their authority and influence in whatever they are saying they are able to do. Because if you are able to rub shoulders with these African politicians, then on this continent it means that you are connected. And so people begin to see you as someone who exudes power and has the influence to get things done, even if they are illegal. And Patni calls himself Brother Paul. Why? Guess what? It's because he runs a church. And let's not be moved by the fact that he just runs the church. He's actually, quote unquote, according to the investigation, known as a criminal mastermind. And he has done a lot of deals in this regard. So you don't take this man for granted when it comes to his line of work. But then, Patni, who also doubles as a pastor and a smuggler, is not really contradicting himself, because someone would expect that, oh, you're a pastor, why are you also smuggling? Because it's like at one end you are the good guy, at one end you are the bad guy. No, he's not contradicting himself, because he comes out to show that he can actually be of help if you want these things done, and that when you meet him, it's almost as though it was ordained by God for you to meet him to help you with these deals. So you see that he somehow believes that there is a divine underlying to what he does. I don't know, but that is what he believes in. Now, after the investigation, he was confronted with the evidence gathered against him, and he denied any criminal wrongdoing in Kenya and emphasized that he had never been convicted in relation to his activities in that country. Rightly so, because I'm wondering, if he was really guilty or culpable in that accusation, then why is it that he was never convicted? Is there more to the story than we got to know? Because for a man who ended up robbing the country of almost 10% of its GDP to get away with it unconvicted, then it's either that he's innocent or he was too connected to get convicted. My thinking though. and he denied his involvement in any kind of money laundering or sanctions, busting, or offering to deal with funds he knew originated from illegal sources. He indicated that when he met the undercover team from Aljazeera, he thought he was meeting with an investor who wanted to sell a stake in a hotel business and to also divest of a portfolio in China into buying gold and mining in Zimbabwe. Rightly so. The first thing is to deny, and that's what he is doing. I'm not sure how this is going to end up after this investigation, whether there are going to be prosecutions and convictions, but being familiar with how some of these things go on some of these African countries, I'll rather keep my fingers crossed and wait to see how it goes. Now, the second person is one Hubert Angel. Now, Hubert Angel is one of Zimbabwe's most influential diplomats, and he was appointed as a special envoy and ambassador at large to Europe and the Americas by the current Kenyan President Emerson Mnangagwa in 2021. And this was the objective of his appointment. He was actually tasked to bring investments to Zimbabwe's collapsing economy, and if what Angel says is anything for us to go by, how the money enters the country does not matter. That's what he's reported allegedly to have said, that, well, the money just needs to come into Zimbabwe. As to how it comes in, it doesn't matter. Now, during the investigation, Angel is alleged to have ordered the undercover investigators that he could use his diplomatic cover to carry large volumes of dirty cash into Zimbabwe as part of a laundering operation, also involving gold smuggling. And he repeatedly claimed that Mnangagwa was aware of his schemes. I quote, he's alleged to have said, I quote, "I can call the president now, not tomorrow, now, and put him on speaker. It's not an issue. We are the government." Now, this could be true, or it could be a lie, or it could be partly true and partly an exaggeration. But you would ask yourself, how come he can be this bold in saying things like this with the name of the president in the sentences? Now, Angel is also a self-proclaimed prophet at his Good News Church. He claims he can heal the sick and predict the outcomes of elections and football matches. And his church currently has branches in 15 countries. But with these claims, it baffles me as to how come he couldn't see that he was actually being investigated by the same people he was bragging to. He should have been able to see into this with his spiritual eye. What do you think about that? Leave your comments in the comment section on this one. Now, Mnangagwa and Angel did not respond to Aljazeera's request for a formal comment about this investigation. So we still wait to see if they ever will respond at all. But I think that it does the presidency a lot of good, and it shows the people of the country a lot of respect if the presidency responds to these allegations or these findings. Because at the end of the day, you are actually elected by the people to lead and serve them. So you are not there of your own self to do your own bidding. You report to your people, so you need to respond to your people on this one. My opinion though, leave your opinion in the comment section if you agree with me or otherwise. Now, the third person in this gold mafia scheme, as alleged, is another person, a British national, who also works with Hubert Angel, called Ricky Dulan. Ricky is the second in command at Angel's church. So he's the deputy to Hubert Angel at the Good News Church, and he's also a musician. So you see one thing running through. So far, all the three people are having a sort of spiritual cloak on. claiming to be either prophets or pastors or deputizing for one of such people. But look at what they are being allegedly implicated in. Now, Dulan repeatedly told Al Jazeera's undercover reporters that he and Angel would be able to arrange a meeting with President Mnangagwa. Again, he is using the president's name, just as Hubert Angel, his boss, did. And it begs the question, how are they able to say all these things with their hand to their chest? Now, during the meetings, Dulan would tell the investigators that money laundering would not be a challenge. I quote, he's alleged to have said, "As long as you grease the wheels, it's not going to be a challenge." The scheme Angel and Dulan suggested involved the investigators to do this. And they said these things to them because they believed that the investigators were actually Chinese criminals. So this is what they suggested to them to be the scheme they would go by. It goes like this. They will be sending over $1 billion of illicit cash to Zimbabwe through Angel. Some of that would be used to purchase Zimbabwean gold, which Dulan said would then be transported to Dubai and sold for legitimate money. He's quoted as saying, "It's a good washing machine, right?" Now, he also told the investigators that he had loads of unexplained cash. And he was like, I quote, "Good, I like embarrassing cash." So you could see he was basking in the access that he had. He was basking in the confidence that he rolls with the top boys of the government. He has accesses in the gold industry, and he could get money out of the country and in the country with gold involved at the beck and call of him, his boss, and his conspirators, and nobody could really touch him. Now, again, Dulan also did not respond when he was requested to give a formal comment about the investigation. So you see the trend. Nobody wants to respond except the first person, Patni. Now, the next person in this gold mafia, allegedly, is a woman called Henrietta Rushwaya. Now, Henrietta Rushwaya's case is a unique one. It's not because she's female, but it's because she's the niece of the current president of the country, President Mnangagwa. Rushwaya is the person whom Angel and Dulan allegedly get in touch with when they want to discuss buying gold for their laundering scheme. It's not the first time Rushwaya has actually been involved in a gold scam. In 2020, she was briefly arrested while trying to carry 6 kilograms of gold from Zimbabwe to Dubai. So you see the Dubai factor coming up again. And then in the following year, 2021, a former driver of Rushwaya tried to take gold worth more than $670,000 to Dubai. And it still doesn't even end there. As far back as 2012, Rushwaya was arrested again on suspicion of being involved in match fixing. So with such a history, you would wonder why Rushwaya is currently the head of Zimbabwe's Mining Federation, which is a key institution in the country's management of its gold reserve. So in the case of Rushwaya, the money laundering plot that she suggested to the investigators was that they would use dirty money to buy Zimbabwean gold, and then they would sell it in the international market in exchange for legitimate money. Now, the dirty money would be flown into Zimbabwe on Angel's plane, which would circumvent customs checks because of his diplomatic status. She is alleged to have said, and I quote, "I'm always available. I'm here at your disposal." And that's what she told Angel on a phone call where the plan was being discussed. So you would see that this is a very strong team of money launderers, and no wonder they are tagged as a mafia. Everyone knows the part that they have to play, and they are very motivated to play it, allegedly, of course, because of the huge amounts of monetary benefits involved. Now, when contacted for her to also comment on these findings, Rushwaya did not respond. This takes us to the next member alleged in the gold mafia syndicate, in the name of Ewan MacMillan, aka Mr. Gold. Now, Ewan MacMillan is Patni's arch rival in Zimbabwe's gold smuggling industry. MacMillan is loud and loquacious, and he was first jailed for gold smuggling in the early 1990s when he was just 21 years old. So he started early. And by MacMillan's own account, he has been to prison on several occasions since then for some of these dealings. And MacMillan partners with the same Zimbabwean state authority that once used to arrest him severally. So you begin to wonder, how come the same state machinery which has been arresting this guy and knows he's a criminal in these things are now partnering with him? Well, I know the answer if it's true, because I have found in my career of covering true crime stories that greed is something very powerful. It actually brings together criminals who might not even like each other, because at the end of the day, the monetary motivation of whatever endeavor they are going to take is more powerful than whatever hatred they may have for each other. Now, he partners with the same authority that has once pursued him. And MacMillan is known to be amongst a set of smugglers, including Patni, who each work with Zimbabwe's state-run refinery called Fidelity. And it's also a very ironic name to have for the same institution that is dealing with these alleged career criminals. How come it's called Fidelity? Now, he is also an acquaintance of Simon Radland, a Zimbabwean millionaire who has been accused by South African authorities of money laundering. So these smugglers have deals with Fidelity, is alleged, and the deal is to deliver a quota of gold bought from small-scale miners to the refinery. They then export it to Dubai and provide hard currency for the Zimbabwean government. But like Patni and Angel, this mechanism allows smugglers like MacMillan to also launder millions of dollars. I quote, "There is an opportunity, a hell of a big opportunity, to wash money here." And this was what MacMillan is alleged to have said. He goes on to say this: "I can give my partner gold in Dubai, and he can just pay you anywhere in the world." MacMillan did not respond to a request to give a formal comment about the investigation, and his key friend Rodland also said that all allegations against him were false and formed part of a smear campaign by an unidentified third party. Now, the gold firm for Zimbabwe, Fidelity Printers and Refiners, also have denied all wrongdoing. So either the suspects are not talking, or those who decide to talk say that I've done nothing wrong. It's either a smear campaign or I thought it was something else. How convenient. The next person in the gold mafia is Alistair Matthias, and he has been noted, allegedly, as the brains of MacMillan's operation. Now, Matthias is the partner the Zimbabwean smuggler referred to. He is a Canadian national, and he's allegedly very good with laundering of money for people all over the world, which includes Russians and even extends to African politicians. Now, Matthias is currently based in Dubai, and he uses a web of companies and refineries to make sure gold gets moved around. So, Matthias is quoted as saying this during the investigation: You've sold it to a refinery and the money got paid in the bank account. So it's very clean that way. Now, according to Matthias, he moves gold valued at between $70 million and $80 million around every month. Apart from Zimbabwe, Matthias also listed Ghana, South Africa, and Zambia among the countries that MacMillan and he can export gold from. Now, with these countries mentioned, if you have any knowledge of them, you would know that they are one of the biggest gold exports on the continent. So it's not surprising that these guys have their hands in the pie in these countries as well, as far as gold dealing is concerned. So Matthias initially was uncomfortable about MacMillan's boastful attitude in front of the investigators, and he then explained that he just wants to do what he needed to do in order for them to make sure that the cash laundering is successful. So he would set up a company in Dubai that they could claim was involved in the gold trade with them. Now, when he was also asked for a formal comment about the findings, he denied that he designed mechanisms to launder money and said that he had not laundered money or traded illegal gold for Russian clients or anyone else. He told Aljazeera reporters that he had never had any working relationship with MacMillan. So it doesn't end there. All this is coming from just the first part of a scheduled 4-part investigation footage to be released. Only the first part has been released and all these things are coming out. Next week, Aljazeera will introduce more key characters involved in the gold mafia. So this is still unraveling, and I'm hoping that the authorities and the security forces in these countries will take this serious and begin to look into finding evidence to corroborate some of the allegations that are coming from this investigation and take the necessary steps to safeguard the interests of their country and their people thereof. Now, here are my 2 cents. Like I said in the beginning, most often the West has been accused of looting from Africa. I'm not going to get into that, but instead I'm going to highlight the fact that it has also been established that even in instances where that accusation might be true, it is being confirmed more and more through various incidents, various outcomes, various scandals, that they were actually led by Africans on the same continent and from the same countries where the looting was perpetrated. So it's like these African countries who are complaining actually had one of their people unknown to them leading these people from other countries from the West who are accused of looting from them. So it ties into a popular African proverb that if there is no enemy within, the enemy without can do us no harm. And from this investigative piece that Aljazeera has done, it's beginning to look like that might be playing out here as well. But like I said, everything I'm reporting is coming from what Aljazeera has said, so I would tie it all with the phrase "it is alleged," pending confirmation and prosecution. If you are an African watching this, leave your comments in the comment section on this. What do you think about the whole investigation? What do you think about the findings thereof? If you are not an African, what do you suggest is the way forward to curb some of these things? And let us know if you also have incidents like this coming up in your space. We are really eager to hear from you on this one. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet done so. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you. If you are a new subscriber, thank you. But if you are watching and you are yet to subscribe, hey, it's free. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notifications button, hit the like button, leave a comment. Catch you next time. Stay safe out there.